All right, welcome to Guitar Lessons with Josh. Today we're going to be talking about the major and minor scale, two scales that I highly recommend learning early on and diving into them, kind of really learning what's going on here. So I like to start with G, just pick one key and learn both for that key so you can kind of see the difference. So here we have the G major scale. Okay, and I like to go from the root note, the root G here, to the end G here. And that's 2 octaves through. So you got your first octave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's your 1 again, right? Your octave. Okay, and then you're going up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Back up there. So in the beginning, just start with the top half, or the lower half here, frequency-wise. Get that down. Totally memorize it. If you think you know it, you don't know it. You got to know it. If you know it, you know it, and you can play it. So I want you to also start understanding what's happening there and put numbers with it, right? So your first note, your 1, your second note, your 2, your 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 1. Putting numbers with it has been really helpful for me to start to understand, where the 2 is at and where the 3 is at and the 4 is at, the 5 is at, and so on. Most of music is just relative pitch between an interval of 2 notes. That's what a chord is, 2 or more notes, and the interval between the notes that are being played is what makes that certain sound, distinctive sound. So start to learn where like your 3 is and your 6 is and your 7's at. So you got your 1 here, your 2 here, your 3 here. So your 1 to your 3, hear that sound. Your 1 to your 4. Start to learn what that sounds like. 1 to your 5. 1, 5. The 6. I love that sound. The 1 and the 6 there. The 7. And then your octave. Get familiar with that sound and see those, those numbers on the fretboard. It's going to help you tremendously when you're learning this stuff. It has for me. I wasn't really into theory and the numbers, but seeing this and learning this has really opened up my playing and starting to understand why certain things sound the way they do. So, the 1 to the 6, the 1 to the 7. And so when you start to get into this and you start moving those numbers around, so to speak, which we're going to get into right now with the minor scale. So that's the major scale, right? Major, G major. Okay, and this is the minor scale, G minor. So now you notice there's some differences, right? You have a 1, a 2, then you have here, it's a flatted third instead of just a normal, natural occurring 3. So that's very important to start to see. The minor scale is a flatted third. 1, 2, 3, your same 4, your same 5. Oh, but a flatted 6 as well. This, a flatted 7th, right? Your natural 7 is right there. This is a flatted 7th, and your 1. So you have 1, 2, flatted 3, 4, 5, flatted 6, flatted 7, 1. And that makes up the G minor scale. So as you start to see, when the numbers get kind of adjusted, flatted or raised, you start to understand why things sound the way they do, and the interval between it. So if you do the 1 to the flatted third sound, versus 1 to the natural 3, you can hear it's sort of a bright sound to a dark, and a lot of songs will use that, they'll go from major to minor. And so what's happening here, that's your 3 down there, right? You got your 1. Another great thing is chord spelling, is spelling out the notes in the chord and understanding the numerology, the numbers in the chords. You got your 1 for that G major bar chord right here. You got your 1, you got your 5, your 1 again, right? 1, 5, 1. then your 3 here, see? 3, it's an octave up, but it's still your 3. Your 5 again, right? 5, octave, and your 1 again. So the difference here is you're just taking that 3, right? Right there, and you're lifting it. So now it's a flatted third to get that minor chord. And you can hear the difference. You know, you got bright and major, very bright, happy sounding chord. Minor, kind of dark, melancholy sounding. Both have their great purposes in to express emotion in music. So back to that minor scale. Learn that bottom half. Get really familiar with that bottom half. And then learn the upper half. And you're going to pivot here. So the other thing with learning this stuff is we really want to keep our fingers without having to move much at all. So, there's 4 fingers per 4 frets, so to speak, and that's a position, And you kind of want to try to hold that position as best you can without having to shift it down or up. If you have to, you have to. So in the minor scale, you have to shift it down. The lower register, you go there, and then you have to shift down to here. Shift back up. See that? So one more time. Shift, shift. Good. And again, do this really slow. Try to do it in rhythm. If you have to count to help, that can help sometimes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Using a metronome is great. It'll definitely speed up your practice. Okay, so that's the minor scale there. Major and minor scale, and we kind of talked about how the differences in the notes, the numbering of the notes. So that's been really helpful for me. Just one last thing to throw in is the minor pentatonic, which a lot of players learn very early on. Great scale, and let's just break that down really quick here. You have so G minor here, the G minor pentatonic. It's if you can see, it's really going to follow the outline of this chord, kind of, right? So you got your 1 here, your flatted 3, your 4, and your 5. And your flatted 7, 1. That's the minor pentatonic scale there. So what the pentatonic being 5, meaning 5, it's the 5 notes of the scale, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And starts over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. So that scale goes hand in hand with that minor scale. And if you can, alternate your picking. Try to use your fingertips. Really try to get each note to ring out into each other. Ringing, ringing, ringing. Slow, sweet. Okay, and so minor pentatonic. So that's my kind of rundown on the major and minor scale, throwing in the minor pentatonic. If you know those 3 scales, you can play, with the best of them. You can play all over the neck. The next step is to learn how those scales relate to each other. And that's another lesson we'll do regarding the major and the relative minor. So if you know the major G here, the relative minor to that is E minor. So you would use E minor pentatonic or E minor scale if you're soloing over something in the key of G. Anyways, focus on those 2 scales there, the major and the minor. Those 2 positions there, get them down, and you can do a lot of lead work, a lot of solo, and just knowing those 2 scales. All right, hope you learned something today. Thanks for watching. If you feel like sign up for guitar lesson, check out guitarlessonswithjosh.com. All right, appreciate y'all. Have a good day.